My Win Is Yours is one of the first African-Australian feature films. It analyses toxic masculinity as well as showcasing the daily lives of African Australians. But it was never our intention to make a film that was an hour long. It was never our intention to have 60 to 70 people working on this project, from extras to editors to director of photography. It was never our intention to have musicians from the UK and Melbourne and Brisbane involved making this project. What started from a very small idea and just 2 people began to snowball. The more people got involved, the bigger the project became. In the end, My Win Is Yours was a massive collaborative effort that could not have been done without everybody involved. This is the story of My Win Is Yours. My name is Nicholas Milverton, also known as Prince. I'm a writer, director and filmmaker, originally from the UK, now living in Brisbane, Australia. I'm of Jamaican descent. My work aims to highlight many perspectives which are not often heard about, but most importantly, my work aims to entertain. The idea first started when I was doing a photo shoot with Luke Woodfield in Mount Cootha in Brisbane, Australia. We were doing these stylistic pictures when Luke decided, you know what, let's just do something with the video. So he started doing a video of me shadowboxing. He said, you know what, I want to do something with this video. I want to film something. And I think he had this idea of doing maybe a music video or a short 3-4 minute film. But because I had a background in theatre, I thought, why don't we try doing a short film? Why don't we see what we can do with this? And he said, yeah, cool. Over the following days, I envisioned a black couple sitting in Luke's red car and smoking weed. This idea would eventually become the first scene of My Win Is Yours. I scheduled a meeting with some fellow artists who I'd worked with in the past. 6 months prior to this photo shoot, I worked on a theatre production, which was a comedy drama entitled Skin Deep. On this project, I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot from the director and producer, Grace Edwards. This was a place for me to experiment and to develop my writing skills. Through Skin Deep, I developed a lot of trust for these actors and I wanted to bring them across to my new project. I pitched my idea to them and they were all on board. All I knew at the time is that I wanted to showcase the African Australian experience. The food, the cultural values, the sun, the vibes. Because I've lived between Britain and Australia, I sort of have an inside-outside perspective on what would be interesting to the outside world. I know what makes this culture unique, and I wanted to showcase that. I don't want to write in the dark. And what I mean by that is I don't want to sit in a dark room, writing some script or novel, and in the end, after months and months, everyone can read it. No, I want to write something that people can be involved with every step of the way. So for example, I might write one scene and I'll bring it to the table, I'll bring it to a meeting and I'll say, guys, what do you think of this? And we'll read it out. And as they're reading it out, I'm looking around, seeing everyone's reactions. And if they're excited, if they're laughing, if they're elated, even if they're saddened by something that I'm writing, then I know I've got something. But it's not always the case. I can sometimes bring something to the table that doesn't get that reaction, doesn't have that magic in it. And I'll just sort of gaze the room, I'll ask them what they think, why it's not banging. And I'll go back into my room and I'll bring the magic to the table. We had these writing meetings every Sunday for about 3 to 4 months. And we soon realized that I wasn't going to be able to tell my story within 10 to 15 minutes of film. The more characters came to me in my dreams, the more I thought about Mark and Bisa, the more I realized that this world of My Win Is Yours had to be expanded. We had to flesh it out. We had to know about people's motivations and where they were coming from and relate that to the community that we were seeing around us. I usually start casting and rehearsals before I've finished the script. It gives me an opportunity to see how the actor gels with the character. And the rest of the writing becomes easier because I can kind of envision what they might say and how they might interact with somebody else. We started rehearsing at Backbone Youth Arts. We had this sort of no-nonsense policy where as soon as you come in the door, you give your all. Every sentence had to have meaning. Every phrase had to have impact. We developed it like it was a stage production, from scene 1 to scene 12, memorized. We did activities which allowed us to really delve into the character's psyche and where they're coming from. Every character had a backstory that was well developed. And as soon as we started to think like this, the world of My Win Is Yours became bigger than any of us.
They can get underneath your skin.
Yeah, gonna go back to this country, France. I'm playing the play.
I have a good thing going already.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make it better.
You're doing something great. It's always a downfall. Mike is going down, 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 down. From his girl to his friends. Like, where is the empowerment of the black man here?
You just left me yesterday.
I said I'm hosting.
What do you say to these missions?
A lot of things. Picture this.
The rehearsal time was a great place to experiment and to learn and trust from one another. So when it came to the shooting, we were more than ready. The shooting of My One Is Yours almost never happened. We were scheduled to start shooting on Tuesday, but we went into a snap lockdown on Friday because of COVID. So I'm trying to be this cool and calm leader for my actors, just telling them it's going to be okay, even though deep down I'm dying from anxiety. So Monday comes around and we get the green light to film on Tuesday. We wake up on Tuesday morning, we go back to Mount Cootha where the whole idea began, and we just start shooting.
This is literally where it all started. We've come full circle.
Yeah. A talk.
And then you're combing your hair.
You open the door.
I'm getting
I'm
changed.
your boyfriend. What are you doing?
Hold on.
Action.
I'll talk to you later, alright? Have a good day.
The cinematographer of My One Is Yours is a man called Nate Van Doorn. He's often off doing documentary films in dangerous places, but there's a realism and grit that he brings to cinema that I absolutely love, that fit perfectly with My One Is Yours. Two people who really impressed me over the shooting of My One Is Yours were the leads, Donnie Ngabo and Aurora Little Christie. There were so many moments on set where they had to dig deep for this emotional content when they as the actors were so emotionally spent. But there's those little wins where you get a shot right or a scene works perfectly or there's some moment of inspiration with one of the characters that kept the fire burning in us to complete the film. Some films have a very big team behind the camera. We really had a very tight unit. Sometimes it was just a cinematographer, myself, and the two leads, because we wanted to create that intimacy and emulate that kind of real, genuine love that we see between two people. Once the main scenes were complete and Nate and Donnie's job was done, we began to think of new ways that we could bring different sides of Brisbane to the table. So within the film, we have many different montages, and they showcase this unique side of Brisbane. These were all shot by the second camera operator, Luke Woodfield. Luke has a background in photography, and all of his shots within the montages have a very calm tone, which is very different from Nate's style. But they fit perfectly together within the world that we created. Many businesses allowed us to use their shops and cafes and restaurants as locations for the film. They felt excited and elated to see their community put on the big screen. It's so exhilarating to be on set, behind the camera. I mean, thinking about writing a scene months prior and then rehearsing and then seeing it all played out and it's all the perfect ingredients together, all the actors doing their little parts to make this scene beautiful. It's such a great feeling.
Because it ends on a comedy downstairs and then it's even funnier.
Yeah.
And then they wake up and it's like back into the seriousness.
Just want to do it one more time, just with a little bit more force here.
So for the last half of the monologue,
Yeah, I'll just keep it down. I'll just keep it down.
it was down until you pulled it up in that shot.
The main contributors to the music of the film were Lydia Kindi and Zena Mainu Jones. I envisioned this Amapiano South African house-inspired music that would fit with the landscape and the African people of Australia. They worked tirelessly putting different pieces of the puzzle together to create this soundscape that just perfectly articulated the experience of what it means to be African within Australia. I'm not a very spiritual person, but it feels like everybody who was involved with the project was meant to be there. And the same goes for Rachel, the editor, and Kira, the color grader. When I first met Rachel, she was a 19-year-old who was just about to finish her film studies. She had this drive and passion and excitement for film that I absolutely loved. So tirelessly for months, she worked day in, day out, trying to craft and bring all the different separate pieces to create this world of My One Is Yours. An aspect of film which is often overlooked is the job of the color grader. The color grader comes in and makes things warmer or cooler, brings out certain colors, dims certain colors, depending on the style. I looked far and wide trying to find the right person for the job until Rachel showed me the work of Kira. Kira had this very natural, very authentic, very realistic style that worked perfectly with the themes and concepts that was in the film. It's time to show the world what it means to be part of this unique culture, which is African and Australian. We appreciate all the support that you've given us over the last year and a half of projects, and we hope that you can have open discussions about about some of the concepts involved with this film. Thank you.